This is On the Sidelines with Box 13.
All right, welcome back into another episode of the On the Sidelines podcast. I'm your host, Ethan McReynolds, here as always with my partner in crime, D-Jack Dante Jackson. Dante, the Seahawks are a national story.
Yes.
Everybody is talking about the Seattle Seahawks, and after 8 weeks, I'm not going to lie, I thought they would be, who's your pleasant surprise of the season? The Seattle Seahawks, because I knew that they were going to be better than the national pundits were giving them credit for. 6-2, third best odds for the number one seed in the NFC. Sam Darnold is sixth in the MVP odds on DraftKings. What's going on here?
I mean, these are our Hawks. These are the Hawks we talked about at the beginning of the season when I said they'll win 13 games, I love what I see out of the Hawks. They are legit. That's why the national media is playing catch-up right now, because they're showing, Sam Darnold has showed consistently that he is a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback. JSN has shown that he is a number one option wide receiver, the best in the game right now, if you ask me. So with those things in mind, the Seahawks have shown they are legitimate and they are a force to be reckoned with.
Well, and they're doing it on all three phases. I mean, the offense, you mentioned Darnold and JSN. Darnold in that Commanders game that we're going to talk about, they won 38-7, right? I mean, it was just a complete blowout. Darnold in that first half, 4 touchdowns, 16 of 16 for 282 yards. 16 for 16. I mean, no blemishes, no notes. He was just absolutely incredible. You mentioned JSN, on pace to be the first receiver in NFL history to hit 2,000 receiving yards. He currently leads the NFL. He leads Jamar Chase, who has an extra game on him, I believe, by 137 yards. Quick math. He's got 948 yards through 8 games. Absolutely incredible. Then you go to the defensive side of the ball. 7 of their 8 games this season, they've held an opponent to 20 or fewer points. You look at Leonard Williams, DeMarcus Lawrence. They have just been a wrecking crew on that defensive line. And you talk about Brian Murphy, who's had some really standout games in the pass rushing department. They're one of the best rushing defenses in the entire league, and they're getting after the quarterback. You just got Devin Witherspoon back, and we mentioned it last week. This secondary has only played 4 snaps together this entire season, and that's still true because Julian Love is still out. Ty Okada stepping up with a big interception against the Commanders. It is really a next man up mentality for this entire team. Then you get to the special teams. Brandon Peely, 300-pound defensive lineman, rumbling down there on the kickoff, forcing a fumble. First forced fumble and recovery for the Seahawks team of the season. All 3 phases. Torrey Horton has a punt return for a touchdown. They're one of the best by the analytic numbers.
And 4 receiving touchdowns.
And absolutely. I think he has 5. I think he has 5 receiving touchdowns and 13 catches. Wow. Is what I heard on sports radio. So, doing it in all 3 phases, and by the analytic numbers, the Seahawks are top 5 by DVOA in offense, defense, and special teams. The only team top 5 in all 3 phases.
Yes, and they've been this way since the start of the season. I would say the only game that they have been outplayed, outdueled is the Tampa Bay game. The San Francisco 49ers was the first game of the season, and I felt that they played a better game there. They just got cute with the ball a little bit, and they lost that game. So they have 2 blemishes on their record, and I don't expect them to lose too many more games. No. I picked them to win 13. That's 3 losses. They only have 1 more loss in them. I think this Seahawks team is definitely a contender for the Super Bowl championship. Let's go.
You heard it here first. You're always hearing it first on the sideline.
Hey, this is a show of champions, and I got to give my shouts out to Toe Tap Ty.
Yes.
Ty Okada. A beautiful interception.
Montana State legend.
Yes, on the sideline. He's filling in for Julian Love admirably. I have one bit of caution, though. We just lost the quarterback of our defense in Ernest Jones. And I think some might not realize just how big of a loss that is. The injuries are chipping away at the Hawks. It's been next man up mentality, but I'm afraid that it'll finally catch up like it did against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, that Tampa Bay game was tough. I mean, you felt I think it was DeMarcus Lawrence who wasn't playing that game, and you felt his loss. How big of an addition has he been to this defense? But yeah, Ernest, the defense was fine after he left. The Jaden Daniels injury happened, while he was gone. Prayers up for Jaden Daniels as well. That was just absolutely horrific. Awful to see someone experience that. But the defense held up, but they didn't look the same, to your point, after Ernest Jones went out.
No, and the thing that didn't look the same was the stopping power. Mm-hmm. That's what Ernest Jones do. When he makes contact, you stop. Yes. And you can clearly see the difference. Tyrese Knight, he actually led the team in tackles once he came in, but he's what I call catching. He's catching the tackle. Mm-hmm. He's not making the tackle. Now, he did make those plays, and they held up. But I always thought this linebacker position was a little thin, and now you're down to Tyrese Knight and Drake Thomas as your starting linebackers, and I think that's a position that John Schneider, maybe later on today, needs to shore up this linebacker position, and then I will feel a lot better about this defense.
Yeah, I would say, if you told me before the season that Ernest Jones was going to go down, I would be a lot more concerned than I am right at this moment, because we've seen what Drake Thomas can do and we've seen what Tyrese Knight can do. So, I don't think you're going to replace in Ernest Jones, and you're right. There are a lot of hidden yards in that run game with Ernest Jones. You mentioned he's a stopper. I mean, he hits you at a 2-yard gain, it's going to say a 2-yard gain. Tyrese Knight catching you turns into a 4 or 5 yard game, something like that. So I think that's a really good point. It does remain to be seen how long he is out. Hopefully, we're taping this on Tuesday. Hopefully, we find out more tomorrow from Mike McDonald on Wednesday when he talks to the media. He doesn't like to give out a lot of injury information, though. You just need him back for the Rams game. You just need him back for the Rams game, in my opinion. You got the Cardinals on Sunday, and then the Rams right after that. If you can get away with only missing Ernest Jones for one game, that would be a huge bullet missed. Even if it's a couple of games, man, just get him back for the stretch run. Yes. I mean, this defense has enough weapons to stay afloat without him. So. But that is a significant loss if you're missing him for multiple games.
Yes, and you're talking about the Cardinals. You're talking about a division opponent. You throw the records out the window when you have a division opponent, and they played well on Monday Night Football, beating the Dallas Cowboys. So, you can't overlook any opponent if you're the Seahawks, especially a divisional opponent like the Cardinals, who've played them tough. Even the first game that they won down in Arizona, I believe, they just could not put the Cardinals away. And I think if it's one thing that I see out of this Hawks team is they have problems putting them away. I love the fast start in that first half of this past game, but I wanted to put the beat down and bury them 10 feet deep in that second half, and they kind of played to the score.
38-7's not 10
enough.
Feet deep? What was that, 6 feet deep?
Listen. How many did you score in the first half? You had, 28, 31 or something like that? 31 points in the first half. You only scored 7 in the second half, okay? I understand that you salting the game away and you playing a different game. I just want them to put your foot on their neck the full, complete game. I'm satisfied with the game as definitely of what they did, but I want more. And I'm going to ask you, what's wrong with this run game? Because that's one concern, one big concern that I hear everybody have about the Seahawks. You have to have that run game if you want to be a championship contender.
Yeah, I think teams are stacking the box against the Seahawks. It's hard to run against 8-man fronts, and Clint Kubiak has done an awesome job of adjusting off of that, being in heavy personnel, but still having a great passing scheme off of that with. Sometimes just running out 2 wide receivers and JSN or AJ Barner or Elijah Royal will get open on those. That's not very common to see in this very pass-heavy NFL, is to see heavy personnel and only 2 routes being run. And then, that way you're helping out your offensive line. I think Clint Kubiak, when you're facing the Kubiak scheme, you have to stop the run. They're going to be in a lot of heavy personnel, 2 tight end sets, 2 running backs, Robbie Oates the fullback. You have to stop the run. Teams are committed to stopping the run against the Seahawks. The Seahawks have done a good job. Clint Kubiak has done a good job of not giving up on an ineffective running game, because then that sets up the play action and the down the field passing. So even though the running game hasn't been effective, it has still been effective for the offense in the facet that it sets up the pass, and that's a big reason why JSN is able to go off for so many yards, and Sam Darnold has so many open receivers, and he's getting the ball out of his hands, and the pass protection is awesome. I just think it is concerning. I think at this trade deadline, and by the time you're listening to this, maybe John Schneider makes a move for a right guard, but I think Ray Zabel's a lot better of a pass protector than a run blocker. He's solid for sure. I think Jalen Sundell is a better pass protector than he is a run blocker. So they're just not getting that. They're just not getting enough push right now. I think that's what it comes down to. Not looking at the film, that's just sort of the vibe that I get from watching the games.
And you mentioned heavy personnel in the play action, and I think that's where today's acquisition, Tuesday's acquisition.
Yeah, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Rashid Shaheed.
Yes, from wide receiver from the Saints. I mean, we know he's blazing fast. He got rockets in his boots.
And you only gave up a 4th and a 5th rounder for him.
Yes, 2 day 3 picks. That's the reports. He has 44 catches for almost 500 yards for the Saints, and he's had 2 quarterbacks, Spencer Rattler and rookie Tyler Shuck. So he hasn't had the best quarterbacks to give him the ball, and those are solid numbers for him. He also can help in the special teams in the punt return game. Yep. So I think he will help, like they say, take the top off. They always say, can he take the top off? I think this only helps JSN, with his under routes, and JSN has shown he can take the top off also. So now you have those threats. Maybe it will work like reverse and help the run game now that you have another threat to go deep in Shaheed. So maybe that will help the running game.
Yeah, I mean, you have to wonder when defenses are going to start adjusting and daring the Seahawks to run on them and selling out to cover the pass. I think Rashid Shaheed is going to be a big proponent in that. Defenses need to game plan for him. You brought in Marquez Valdez-Scantling beginning of the season to be that deep threat after you lost DK Metcalf. MVS wasn't the best fit here. You sort of have Torrey Horton, but there's sort of the injury proneness concern with him.
He's a rookie.
He's a rookie as well. He's still growing as a player. So Rashid Shaheed, that's exactly what this passing game needs. And there was a great quote or a great tweet from Will Brinson with CBS. Rashid Shaheed is coming over from the Saints. Clint Kubiak was their offensive coordinator last year.
So he's familiar with the offense.
He is familiar. So Shaheed played 6 games under Kubiak last season before getting hurt. In those 6 games, his 17-game pace with Clint Kubiak before his injury, 57 catches, 988 yards, just under 1,000, 17.5 yards per catch, and 9 touchdowns. Kubiak is bringing in guys that he is familiar with. That's one of the reasons he brought in MVS, but it wasn't a good fit. Kubiak is familiar with his game. He knows how to use him. And now he's got JSN at his disposal to even further that. So, you've got Chris Olave in New Orleans that was sort of taking attention away from Shaheed. Now you got JSN and you got Shaheed over the top on those play action passes. Right. I mean, this offense is going to be really, really fun to watch for the rest of the season.
Now, I have to ask, is this what you want, Seattle? As an offense, do you want it? Because right now it's a 50-50 balance between run and pass. If you now that you have Shaheed and you have JSN, I say he was emerging, he has arrived. Does this take away from his completions? Does this take away from his catches? Do you want to pass more with Sam Darnold? Because we all know Sam Darnold, he can Sam Darnold sometimes, like that throw when he tried to squeeze it in there and he threw that interception. He does make those 1 or 2 mistakes in a game. Do we want him throwing more? Do we want to take away from JSN's season?
I don't think this move signals that the Seahawks are going to be throwing the ball more. I think it's another weapon that defenses have to game plan around that hopefully, like we were talking about, it could unlock the running game. Like, I just don't think Clint Kubiak has shown such a commitment to the run, and it is such a core principle to his offensive scheme with the run setting up the pass. I mean, they have a fullback on the roster. They're not going to stop running the football. So I don't think...
And he's just getting back healthy, too.
Exactly,
so maybe he needs to work that run game back.
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
And get back in shape.
Yeah, I don't think... And also, Eric Saubert being out last week, that... he's a really good run-blocking tight end as well. So I don't think this move signals, an air raid type adjustment to this offense. I think Clint Kubiak, he's going to be able to do whatever the defense gives him. And if the defense is going to put 8 in the box, he's going to let Sam Darnold go out and throw it. He's got an incredible wide receiver who is literally always open, and he's got a quarterback to where he's earned the trust to make the right decisions. Does he have a couple of clunkers here and there? Yeah, but what quarterback is perfect in this league? You know, so they can just beat you in so many different ways. Like it's not like the Seahawks have one fastball and then it's like, okay, well, if you stop that one, then it's like, well, what now? They have a plan B, they got a plan C, they got a plan D. There's so many different ways the Seahawks offense can beat you, and Rashid Shaheed only adds to that.
And let me talk about one of those plans. I got to give kudos to the tight ends.
Yeah,
this is probably the most optimistic I've felt about that position group since I've been a fan of the Seahawks. I mean, you have Arroyo and you have Barner, two stud young players also at tight end, a position that the Seahawks haven't fared well over the years. But these two youngsters right here remind me of when the Patriots carried their two tight ends and they used them very well. And now Arroyo is finally getting, his legs under him. He's getting used to being a pro, and you can see the talent just jump off the screen. And I love what I see out of Barner. I picked him to be as one of the top players coming out this year for the Seahawks as far as most improved. So I love the tight end position when you have pass catching and they're able to block. Oh man, you can do everything you want to do on offense. So hats off to Clint Kubiak.
Yeah, and I mean, AJ Barner is a guy. I mean, he was drafted for his run blocking ability, and he's turning into quite the pass catcher.
Yes.
And then he also got the barnyard as well.
Yeah, and I love it. Hold on, let me jump in there because I like that better than tush push.
Oh,
barnyard?
Yeah, that's
I mean, you're a genius. Whoever came up with that name, you are a genius. The barnyard, oh, man, and he looks the part, he plays the part, he is the part. A.J. Barner definitely is a great player.
Yeah, let's talk about the defense really quick. I mean, I feel like the offense gets so many of the headlines, but this is one of the best defenses in the NFL. It's shades of the Legion of Boom. We're going to talk about it with Jackson Feltz in just a few minutes. How much does this defense remind you of the Legion of Boom? Because I am seeing a lot of shades from that 2013 defense.
I don't know if it reminds me of the Legion of Boom. As a matter of fact, I hate the comparisons because I feel like this defense is one in itself. I would just love to see them fully healthy. When you think about the dominance of this defense right now and the fact, like you talked about, they haven't even had their full secondary for more than 4 snaps. Ernest Jones is down now. Tyrese Knight was hampered at the beginning of the season. So Tariq Woolen has been in and out of the lineup for good or bad. So they haven't had a complete cohesive unit all year and still are dominant. I would love to see this defense fully healthy to really see what they can do. I give credit to Mike McDonald now. I sit on here and I yell at Mike McDonald, hey, you got to be accountable and all that stuff. And I'm going to pat him on his back when he does well. Mike McDonald, great job, great scheme, great job coaching these players up. I mean, it's next man up. I've never seen anything like this where you lose top-notch players. Julian Love, he was a Pro Bowler last year, and you're still rocking and rolling with toe-tap tie.
Toe-tap tie. Yeah, I mean, the Seahawks are just giving up under 19 points per game. That's good for 5th best in the NFL. I mean, the teams above them, the Broncos, Chiefs, Rams, Texans, the Seahawks have better offenses than all of those teams. You could make an argument this is the most well-rounded team in the entire league. Pretty crazy to think about. And,
did you see this coming? At the beginning
with the
of
defense?
Season, this complete squad.
No,
did you see this coming?
Not at all. I thought the defense is not surprising me at all. This is about where I thought they would be. Maybe a little bit better than where I thought they would be. The offense has been a complete shock to me. I thought it was going to be at least a middling offense, spearheaded by their running game, that sort of like the 2013 team, that same formula of keeping teams under 20 to 23 points, and then the offense would hopefully do just enough to get it done in the fourth quarter. And I thought Sam Darnold had the tools to, lead some of those Russ-like comebacks in the fourth quarter. That's what I thought the formula was going to be. Not this.
Yes. Not
this explosive offense paired with this elite defense that hasn't even gotten all the turnovers that I feel like they've sort of deserved with how well they've played. One play that I want to shout out from that Commanders game. How about Leonard Williams, Big Cat, running down Jaden Daniels on the scamper? I mean, that was just absolutely incredible. Gets him by his toes on 3rd and 13. Or no, it was like a 4th down.
Yes.
I mean, just the effort, the buy-in from this defense, from this whole team, has been special. Mike Macdonald is building a special type of culture in this locker room, and it's awesome to see the guy that he replaced, and Mike Macdonald is just being his full and authentic, genuine self, and the guys are really feeding off of that.
Yes.
I mean, is this the best offseason in Seahawks history? You get rid of Geno Smith and DK Metcalf, maybe two guys who were very connected to Pete and maybe not fully bought into the system. You add Sam Darnold, Cooper Kupp.
You lose Tyler Lockett.
Yeah, Tyler Lockett. You get DeMarcus Lawrence. I mean, what a move! What a just performance from Mike Macdonald, John Schneider, full front office to turn this thing around. And you've got all this cap space now. Sam Darnold is on maybe the most team-friendly contract for a quarterback in the entire league.
He's definitely outplayed his contract already, I would add.
6 best MVP odds. I mean, he's been absolutely incredible. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, and I totally here let me throw a stat at you, Dante. Talk about him outplaying his contract in NFL history. This is from OptaStats. In NFL history, 4 quarterbacks have done the following over their first 8 games of a season: completed 70% of passes, thrown for 2,000 plus yards, thrown for 15 plus touchdowns, and taken fewer than 10 sacks. The other quarterbacks that have done it: Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and Drew Brees, and Sam Darnold.
Oh, wow.
Sam Darnold is on that list with those guys.
Hey, give him his jacket now.
Did I expect this? No. I don't know if anybody expected this.
I wanted to double back and talk about something you talking about, the locker room and the vibes. And this is how you can tell this team is connected, because the defense are up on their feet when that offense is playing, cheering the offense on. And the offense vice versa. When you see that, when they're cheering for each other on the opposite sides of the ball, that's when you know this team is connected. And I love to see the vibes. You saw it when Leonard Williams made that tripping tackle with Jaden Daniels. I'm sorry. You saw the sideline just erupt on the effort. Yeah. And that's what you can't measure. You can't measure that effort. And Leonard Williams, he's been doing it all year. If you ask me, he might not have the numbers, he might not have the stats, but I definitely think he should be in the running for Defensive Player of the Year.
Well, and they brought it up on the broadcast. Chris Collinsworth, saying Leonard Williams does a lot of the dirty work.
Yes.
He's chipping dudes for those stunts. Yeah, absolutely. And then it was cool to see Big Cat get the sack on one of those where he's doing the dirty work. Mina Kimes also shouted him out on Twitter. That's what Leonard Williams is doing. It really starts with him being a leader on that defense.
Yes.
And
he's a baller too.
Yeah,
don't get me wrong.
Absolutely,
he can play.
We got to move it along here. One thing, I'll leave it with this with the Seahawks. The national media is catching on
and
in
I'm
a big
scared.
way.
I'm scared.
It is scary. It is daunting. And the reason why, I think the hype is all warranted. For me, I think they are Super Bowl contenders. Before I can call them Super Bowl favorites and we can start talking about that 1 seed in the NFC, I need to see them beat a truly elite team.
You got to beat the Rams.
Let's
call it out right now. You have to beat the Rams, and you have to get your lick back against the 49ers.
Yes. I think so. There's only 2 teams the Seahawks have beaten this year that have winning records. The Jacksonville Jaguars and the Pittsburgh Steelers are both 5-3. Those teams are not elite. The Aaron Rodgers-led Steelers with a leaky defense that's inconsistent. The Jaguars led by Trevor Lawrence. I just don't see it with either of those teams. Those are both really good wins on the road, but they don't tell me that this team is a Super Bowl favorite. I think they're in the category for playing in that game, but to be, for me to think that they have one of the best odds in the entire NFL to play in that game, they need to show it a week from this Sunday against the Los Angeles Rams and really take control of this division.
Right, and you mentioned the road, and I just want to end it with this. I mean, hats off to Mike Macdonald for winning, 11 consecutive games on the road. I think only 3 other coaches did that.
I believe it's 10 straight.
Maybe
10 straight now.
Maybe 10 straight.
11 of 12 for McDonald.
Let's give him 10 straight. I'm going to go with you, Ethan. It's still a record. It's a Seahawks record. Only 3 other coaches have done that. And we talked about that recipe, that championship recipe. You get your unlikely contributions. Nobody expected Donald to do this. You have your history. Mike Macdonald, Road Warriors, okay? Now you need your performances to go ahead and complete that circle, and the Seahawks are contenders. Your Seahawks.
Let's end it with this really quick, D-Jack. We got our Star Watch for next week. The Seahawks are taking on the Arizona Cardinals. You picked Nick Emmanwori to stand out. Why is that?
Look at him. He's just getting more comfortable. Did you see the tackle against Deebo Samuel's? One of the toughest tackles to make in the NFL.
You talk about culture. You talk about culture and effort and energy.
That was tape.
Hard hitting. LOB. You talk about LOB. That is a Cam Chancellor type run through a block.
Right.
I mean, that is the type of player that Nick Emmanwori is.
Yes, and he's just getting more and more comfortable. You see the talent. He's a physical specimen. He's all over the place. He's a Swiss Army knife. Nick Emmanwori is my Star Watch for Week 10. Look out for him.
I'm going to go with Kenneth Walker. I think this run game, he had a decent game in Thursday Night Football against the Cardinals. The first time these two teams matched up, 19 carries for 81 yards. I think it's been 5 games since Kenneth Walker has scored a touchdown. I think he gets back in the end zone this Sunday against the Arizona Cardinals. I'll give my game prediction later in the show when we talk about our NFL picks. I feel like you know where I'm going with that. But for now, the Sounders are in the playoffs right now, and the Seahawks are playing so well we haven't even talked about it yet. So let's go over to Jackson Feltz, our conversation with him. He does all the pre- and post-match stuff for the Seattle Sounders. We caught up with him earlier today. We're back here on the sidelines with our special guest for the episode, none other than Jackson Feltz of Sports Radio 93.3 KJR FM, also doing the Sounders pre- and post shows. You heard him yesterday on KJR. Jackson, what a game, too, for our Seattle Sounders. Backs against the wall, and they delivered. It got dicey at times, at the end of that first half, but what were your main takeaways from this game, too?
I mean, we know that these do-or-die, win-or-go-home situations is when the Sounders do their best business, and I think we saw that. I mean, the offense exploded, to be simple. I mean, this is a Minnesota team that had only given up 2 goals to the Sounders in 3 previous games, and boom, the Sounders get 2 quick, and then they get a third in the 41st minute, and it's an offense that's looking very, very different from the 3 previous times they played Minnesota. A lot of that's the scheme, but I think what you see is a Sounder team that once again is just in these situations, and they just play so well when they're, as you mentioned, when their backs against the wall.
Now, Jackson, I was very impressed with the Sounders, their resilience, because Minnesota actually fought back in that first half, and the Sounders went ahead and played add-on in the second half. What do you say about the mentality of the Sounders right now?
Yeah, it's good. It's definitely better than it was a week ago. That's for sure. One of the interesting parts about this game was the fact that in added time in soccer is such a funny thing because 8 minutes are added to the end of the first half. Were all 8 minutes deserved? Maybe, probably not. But questionable refereeing as it was. But what you end up getting is this weird dynamic where how do you play in those 8 minutes? Do you go for the absolute dagger in the heart at 4-0? Because 3-0, it's likely over, but it isn't for sure. 4-0, it's absolutely over. And what's interesting is on that play where Minnesota makes it 3-1, it's a breakaway for the Sounders on the other way. Obed Vargas feeds a pass into Jordan Morris. And if that pass is just a little, like maybe 6 inches, a foot further out ahead of Jordan, then Jordan doesn't have to come back to the ball. Mm-hmm. But Sounders are on the break in that play. If that ball is 6 inches a foot ahead, then they're on the break. They have numbers. It might very well be 4-0. And everybody sees that on that play, and they start moving up the field in bunches. But we know the pass wasn't ahead of Jordan. It's behind. Jordan has to come back to the ball. He has to do some hold-up play, and Minnesota take it away from him. It's a giveaway for Jordan. They come the other way. They make it 3-1. That is the slimmest margins of a game being over in the 46th minute versus still being very much in contention at 3-1. And, it's credit to the Sounders mentality, as you go back to your question, the element of, all right, we've played very, very well. We were very close to being up 4-0. Let's come back out. Let's do the same thing. Let's play solid defense like we usually do. And it was great mentality and just a great aspect of the second half of just the element of we know how well we just played for 45 minutes. Let's just get back to that 45 minutes.
And Jackson, you brought up the first goal. I wanted to ask about the second goal and sort of, there was a lot of positives last night, absolutely, but I would say that second goal was definitely one of the bigger negatives. Yeimar dribbling up close to half field, gets double teamed, the really bad giveaway in that spot, up 3-1 in stoppage time. I mean, just boot the ball and the half's over. Are there any concerns for you on the defensive side of the ball? This is a Brian Schmetzer side this season that hasn't been, I would say, as consistent on the defensive side of the ball as in years past. Are some of these sort of defensive miscues adding up a little bit much for you in the case that it is a little concerning against a Minnesota team that loves to catch you on your heels and break on mistakes like that one from Yeimar?
Minnesota does love to do that, and I think you have the point there. I'm not too concerned about the defense. I think the reason why you've seen a little more flux from the defense this year is there's been a lot of injuries, a lot of changes, guys in and out, and the cohesion in that back line hasn't always been there. Yeimar Gomez-Andrade, to your point, he was just dealing with an injury as well. He's fresh back to the squad of these last couple games. So I think it has just been kind of like, all right, can we please stay healthy and, not get injured to the point of losing that cohesion? The interesting thing about last night was, I mentioned they played so well defensively in the second half. They lost Alex Roldan after the first half. They have to put Kalani Kozarienzi in there. And I think it's a testament to young Kalani on how good he is, that he seamlessly fits into that back line. I'm not overly concerned about Jackson and Yeimar. But that being said, Game 3 on Saturday in Minnesota, this is a team who has been historically good at set pieces. One of, if not the best set piece team in MLS history. Those two, Jackson and Yeimar, are going to have to play A-plus games to win Game 3. And they can't have any of those moments like we had for that Minnesota second goal on Monday.
Now, Jackson, what would you say about some of the lineup changes that Coach Schmetzer made? I'm thinking about starting Danny Musovski along with Jordan Morris. That's a combination we haven't seen much, if any, this year. What do you think about some of the tweaks he made to the lineup?
Yeah, this is the thing that needs to be talked about most, I think, coming out of last night. I'm really thankful to Brian for making me look smart. On last week's Sounders Weekly show, I kind of spelled out exactly what I think they should do. I spelled it out, and I said, all right, what you do is you put Danny Musovski on, you put him up top, you put Jordan next to him, but sort of more out wide right, give him some fluidity, and you take Paul Rothrock off. I love Paul. I think he's a better second half substitute as not as a starter, but I just think if you look at Jesus Ferreira, for example, a guy who could come off versus the Rothrock's going to be a better substitute than a Ferreira would be in what did it end up being, about 66th minute last night, right? So credit to Brian Schmetzer. I don't know if he listens to Sounders Weekly. I don't think he does. But I will say that that's exactly what we saw. We saw those two playing together. And the beauty of the fluidity is that at times last night offensively, you saw Seattle in what Brian Schmetzer rolled out. And he called a 4-4-2. It isn't the classy Siggy Schmid flat 4-4-2 like we saw for many years here in Seattle. It was a 4-4-2 diamond. And Obed Vargas had a lot of flexibility to get up onto the right. He did extremely well in that position. Jordan could stay up top next to Danny. So at times it actually looked like a 4-4-2, which is crazy. I don't know the last time we ran a 4-4-2 diamond from the first minute. But then at times, because of that fluidity, it also looked like the classic 4-2-3-1. And Jordan would slide out right. Obed would go back into his holding spot a little more, and it would look like our normal system. And then at times it would shift into a 4-3-3 where you'd have Jordan get up, and you'd have Jesus get up, and you'd have suddenly this massive attacking formation where everybody is rolling. And it's because of that fluidity that Minnesota was just completely off balance. They didn't know where the attacks were coming from. They didn't know where Jordan was going to go, where Obed was going to go, how they were going to play. And it was that element that kept them on their toes. And it's, I think, additionally why Game 3, young 33-year-old Eric Ramsey, yes, 33-year-old head coach of Minnesota United, Eric Ramsey, he's going to have a lot on his plate to figure out how the heck Seattle's going to play Game 3 because they have to figure out what Seattle was doing offensively. And if they don't figure that out, then the Sounders are going through.
Well, I wouldn't blame Brian Schmetzer for listening to Jackson Pep Guardiola Feltz over here spelling out the tactics on Sounders Weekly. That's why you should tune in to Sounders Weekly on 93.3 KJR FM. I'm glad you brought that up. It's so interesting because throughout this year, I mean, the Sounders bring in Paul Arriola so they can sort of run that hybrid 3-5 back and have that flexibility there. Paul has to fill in and he can sort of fill that role. You have the flexibility to change between the 4-back and the 3-back. But now, I mean, you just spelled out like 4 different formations that the Sounders can run. How dangerous does that make this team, and does that change your confidence level going into Game 3?
Immensely. I mean, it's funny because spelling out what they could have run, and we were kind of doing it last week and sort of saying, you could have run a 4-4-2. You could run all these different kinds of formations. You could even run a 3-5-2 and figure out all these different things. But it all is based on fluidity. And no matter what, we read on the graphic of what the email, what the tweet is, the given the day, where it's sort of like, all right, they're lining up in a 4-2-3-1, or they're lining up here or there. It's so fluid that can really shift from here to there. And you really just don't know. So I think that gives me way more confidence knowing that they just pulled it off so successfully, that fluidity on, where we haven't seen necessarily that level of fluidity by the Sounders team before. So it tells me that, all right, these guys are have good cohesion to be able to make that work. Now, the bigger point is if you can get past Minnesota, can you use that unpredictability? Can you use that fluidity against a San Diego or a Portland or, if we get there, a Vancouver or LAFC? Because, I mean, that's one of the great things is when you can roll out a completely new formation and catch teams off bounds, then the question becomes, all right, who's going to figure it out before it's too late, or will it be too late?
Now, what do you hope to see in Game 3 versus Minnesota? Minnesota has been tough. I have a lot of respect for them. Coach Schmetzer, like you said, he went deep into his bag as far as changing the formations. Do you expect more tactical changes, more lineup changes? Game 3, what do you see?
I don't think there should be any changes. I think you play Game 3 like you played Game 2. I think the only difference you're going to see is the changes that Eric Ramsey makes, because Minnesota have this unique style where they just sit back defensively, give you the ball and say, we don't want it, you take it. We're going to capitalize on your mistakes, a la the second goal from last night, and they're very, very good at that. But the Sounders also don't make too many mistakes. And I think that Minnesota may have to open up a little more. Maybe they put Yeboah on the field instead, that different striker. Maybe they put Bongi Hlongwane out on the right wing as opposed to right wing back. They put Robin Lod in the middle instead of opposed to up top. There's a lot of things that Eric Ramsey could do in this chess match that I think would make it, all right, Brian knows they may not play for, the 25% possession that they do. They may play for a little more. Who knows what Eric Ramsey does? But I think that's where the tactical changes in this game will come from Minnesota's side. I think Seattle just plays it straight up like they did before and said, you didn't figure us out in Game 2. Good luck figuring us out in Game 3.
Well, if they're not able to figure it out, Minnesota just won 8-3 when they concede the first goal so far this season. So getting that first goal, I mean, that could be absolutely ginormous on the road in Game 3, getting Minnesota out of their shell. That is taking place at Saturday at 1 p.m. Jackson, while we have you on, I'd be remiss not to try to talk some Seahawks with you. They are a national story right now. I mean, it's actually unbelievable, maybe not unbelievable, but I would say pretty shocking where the Seahawks stand right now. What excites you the most about this team after the dominant win over the Commanders and now a big trade deadline move today?
I mean, it's crazy to consider that this team has elite offensive weapons, more than just a Marshawn Lynch. Like, we're talking about multiple elite offensive weapons. Sam Darnold, I don't care what anybody, he's playing elite football right now in the league. I mean, if you look at his yards per attempt, he's number 1 in the NFL at yards per attempt. The difference between him and the 4th place quarterback in yards per attempt is the difference between the 4th place quarterback and the 26th place quarterback in the NFL. Then That's one side of the eliteness. Let's go to Jackson Smith and Jigba. We know his yardage, number one in the NFL by a large margin. Let's just use those same numbers. The difference between JSN's yardage and the fourth leading receiver in the NFL's yardage is the same number as the difference between the fourth leading receiver in the NFL and the 38th leading receiver in the NFL. That is how good JSN and Sam Darnold have been this year. Oh, and then you go out and you add Rashid Shaheed, who missed some games last year, but he's a lightning bolt who can score from anywhere. This offense is elite, and they're gaining weapons, and we'll see about Cooper Kupp's health. But I tell you what, if we can figure out how to run the football, that is the name of the game. If you can figure out how to run the football, this is a Super Bowl caliber team. The defense is incredible. They're not 2013, but boy, they're LOB light. And the way they're playing, I mean, the play from Eamon Wari to blow up Deebo Samuel, I mean, that makes you feel some things. So I love the way this team is playing. And in a wide open NFC, if you just have one dominant side of the ball and have a good other side of the ball, or maybe two, very good side as the Seahawks have, then I tell you what, we could be in for some special things. I don't know where the Super Bowl is being played, but I would say just understand what the flight prices might be, Seahawk fans, because who knows where it could go.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, is that good? Is that good? I mean, you spent so much time talking about the offense, and the Seahawks have one of the best defenses in the league. It's absolutely incredible. One of the more, I feel like, well-rounded teams that we've seen in a long time here in Seattle. Jackson, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. You can see him on Sounders Weekly every week on 93.3 KJR FM Sports Radio, also on the Sounders pre- and post-match shows. Jackson, thanks for the time, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks as always to Jackson Felt of 93.3 KJR FM Sports Radio. He's just incredible. I mean, he called the tactics for the Sounders. Right. I mean, that's some impressive stuff. So be sure to check out his content at Sports Radio KJR. I wanna before we get into our picks and our sayings, we wrap up the show. The Washington Huskies are ranked.
Yes, finally
24th in the country.
Yes.
A lot of people have been clamoring for this.
Yes, much deserved. I hear people crying all for the past 3-4 weeks about why aren't the Huskies ranked. Put some respect on their name. They only lost to number one Ohio State and then Michigan. So they had some great wins. I think the Huskies are favored to win in like 3 of their last 4, if not, maybe not Oregon, but the rest of their games. So they should be ranked. They have a big 3. You got Noah Coleman. Jonah Coleman, I'm sorry. Damon Williams and Denzel Boston. Yeah. You have as good a big 3 as anybody in the country, if you ask me, and all of those guys are electric.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned those last 4 games. They should go. They're sitting at 6-2 right now. They should go into that Oregon game. I mean, Oregon's a top 10 team in the country at number 6 right now, so that's going to be a big one at Husky Stadium. That's going to be a lot of fun for everybody here in Seattle. But they should be going into that game 9-2. You're at Wisconsin. Madison's a really hard place to play, but they are 0-5 in Big Ten. They've been god
awful this year. They've been
very bad. Really? Okay, yeah. So you can attest they've been very bad.
I don't think they scored a touchdown in the last 5 games.
Wow.
So
that's crazy. That's crazy stuff right there. You got Purdue, who also is not spectacular this year, and then you got UCLA, who they fired their head coach this season. So those are 3 games that you need to win. And man, I mean, even if you don't beat Oregon, 9-3 this season in year 2 under Jed Fish, with hopefully Damon sticks around and Jed Fish does as well. But going into next year, you got to be feeling pretty good. And I mean, their chances at a playoff berth aren't even out of the question if they're able to go out and beat Oregon and upset them.
Yes, and it's a rivalry game, so all records go out of the window, like we talked about. And the Huskies have actually played very well against the Oregon Ducks in the past few years. So I expect the Huskies to win that game, actually. I like the Huskies to win out and sneak into the college football playoff. Yeah,
for me, I haven't seen enough personally from the Huskies to specifically from the offense, and you mentioned the big 3. I thought they were going to be able to play better against both Ohio State and Michigan. It was really the defense that stepped up in both of those games. I just think Damon Williams he's not ready yet to take that.
He's still a young player.
Yeah,
yes.
he's still a young player. So his first full season as a starting quarterback, I think they're going to finish the season in the 20 to 25 range in the rankings. I think this is pretty rightly deserved to be within the rankings. I just don't know how much better they are when it comes to facing that elite competition.
Now, you mentioned Damon Williams, but I wanted to dig deeper into that. And Coach Jed Fish said that, he was missing some key offensive linemen in both of those losses. So it's some reasons behind that. Not excuses, but it's some reasons behind that. I would like to see Damon Williams protect the ball a little bit better and just use your legs, man. I despise, or I don't like when quarterbacks have the legs, they have the mobility, and they listen to people who say, well, you got to win from the pocket. No, you have to be special. Damon Williams, go be special.
Yeah, I think, that is sort of the X factor. For me, I feel like you got to be able to have the basis of throwing from the pocket and that ability to go out and win a Heisman, to go out and win a national championship. With Damon, for me, there's too many times where the defense is confusing him and he's thrown into some really, really tight windows. I mean, even that Illinois game, there were a couple throws where, he doesn't even see a linebacker coming over to a little curl route over the middle. There are some throws that he has gotten away with this year and some that he hasn't gotten away with.
Right.
But those need to stop if this Husky team wants to beat Oregon and go into the playoff.
Yes.
Let's move on really quick. We got our NFL pick standings update as our
big head.
Dante, you had a good week
Every
this
time.
week. Dante, you and Austin both 2-1, gaining a game on me. I only went 1-2.
What happened, money line? What happened this week?
Man, the Giants didn't come through, and then the Lions lost to the Vikings.
Yes.
I didn't see that coming at all. JJ McCarthy, I think I was either talking trash on him on the podcast last week or it was off the air.
He looked great.
I was talking
of course.
trash. Yeah, he looked pretty good. But let's go to our picks this week. Let's see. So Austin is closest behind. There's a 4-game gap there behind me at 19 and 8.
Yeah, you still running away with the division.
It's getting closer. We're at the halfway, or we're almost. This week is like past the halfway point of the season.
Right,
so
we're right there.
There's still there's still a lot of football to be played. So let's go to Will Ortner's picks of Chat Sports, friend of the podcast. He's going with the Colts at home over the Falcons. He's going with the Ravens. Lamar Jackson is back at the Vikings. Vikings looked pretty good last week. We'll see what happens there. His underdog is going with the Pittsburgh Steelers at the LA Chargers on Sunday Night Football. I'm going to be mad if that hits because I've picked the Steelers a couple times as my upset pick, and they haven't done anything for me this year. So anyway, let's go to Austin Lane, our producer extraordinaire. He's got the Broncos at home against the Raiders on Thursday Night Football. Thursday Night Football games can be tricky. We got the Bills at the Miami Dolphins, and his underdog, another primetime game, the Philadelphia Eagles, underdogs on the road at Lambeau Field, and the Green Bay Packers on Monday Night Football.
Yes.
You want me? You want me to give yours? Dante, you got the. You tried to cheat, by the way, and take the Bucs over the Patriots as your underdog. The Buccaneers are favorites in that one.
I don't
What's going on?
know about betting and gambling, and I mixed up the favorites.
You're forgiven. You're forgiven.
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny.
I mixed it up.
Let's go, Dante. You got the Lions at the Commanders. No Jaden Daniels, obviously. You got the Bills at the Dolphins, same as Austin, and your underdog, the Atlanta Falcons at the Indianapolis Colts, opposite of Will Ortner. Why are you going with the Falcons?
I just like the Falcons, and I think they're one of those Jekyll and Hyde type teams. I love Penix. I like the wide receiver that they have, Drake London. So, and you got Bijan Robinson. So you have. I talked about the Huskies having a big three. I think the Falcons has as good a big three as anybody also with those 3 young players.
Yeah, Drake
Look
London,
for the Falcons
Bijan
to play well and upset.
Yeah. My picks, I'm going with the Seahawks, your Seattle Seahawks, rolling all this on this momentum against the Arizona Cardinals. We'll see if it's Jacoby Brissett or if it's Kyler Murray. I don't think a hampered Kyler Murray has any chance, and I definitely do not think that Jacoby Brissett has any chance. I mean, this defense is just not giving up an inch. So I like the Seahawks in this one. I got the Lions at the Commanders, same as you, D-Jack. And then my underdog, I'm going with the San Francisco 49ers. I picked against them last week as my underdog pick. I'm going with them at home against the LA Rams. The Rams are 2.5-point favorites there. Outside of last year, the Niners are hurt. I'll give them a pass. The Rams swept them last year. Before that, though, the Niners had won 9 of 11 against the Rams, plus they beat them earlier this year in Los Angeles. So the Niners fully healthy, and they're not fully healthy right now, but they are playing some good football. Sort of have the Rams number. So and I feel like the NFC West, it's a 2-horse race right now between the Seahawks and Rams. How nice would it be for the Niners to knock off the Rams and the Seahawks rolling into that game against the Rams with sole possession of first place? Would be pretty nice.
I would love the Niners to knock off the Rams, but I'm not counting the Niners out at all. I mean, the grit they've shown, the coaching, you talking about next man up that the Seahawks have been showing. I mean, the San Francisco 49ers have shown that in spades. You cannot count this team out. You have to step on them. That's why we want our lick back come the last week of the season. Yeah,
we're going to be talking a lot about that Rams game come next week. Be sure to tune in on the Sidelines podcast. After that Cardinals win, I'm going to write it down right now, looking ahead to that Rams game. That should be for first place. I think either way it's going to be for first place in the NFC West, no matter how it shakes out. So a huge thank you again to Jackson Feltz of Sports Radio 93.3 KJR FM, and for DJ Dante Jackson, I'm Ethan McCrone. We'll see you next time on the Sidelines.
Let's go!
On the Sidelines is available wherever you get your podcast.